John Roberts wasn't the only one shaken that day. Hugh Edwards thought he saw a flying saucer.
I saw this object coming along the mountain with the size of a bus, really. It's right in the middle, on two ends. Came across the mountain towards the road there. As it went over there, it dipped, and I thought it was going to crash. It dipped out of sight into the valley. Well, I'd heard so much about flying saucers, and I thought, well, this is it. And the only sound I heard of it like a shh going through the air. I was very surprised to see it, really.
The district nurse thought perhaps a plane was down.
I thought there might be an air crash. Maybe as a nurse we could help giving first aid. So I called to my daughters and we got into the car and we made our way up to the mountain. We drove a fair way along the mountain road, and to our left we could see a huge orange ball sitting on the mountain, glowing.
Yeah, we stopped and we started looking what we thought was going to be an aircraft on fire.
So we'd envisaged sort of, oh God, you know, there might be bodies if it was an aeroplane crash, and we weren't too happy at that prospect, but we were quite surprised to see this big reddish orange ball just sitting there.
There were no flames and it was so uniform. The shape, the round spherical shape of it made us realise we weren't looking at an aircraft. There were no flames jumping, but it was pulsating, this red orange object that we saw.
And we could see little lights, like fairy lights, coming towards the object in a zigzag pattern, and we assumed at that time possibly there was someone going to see what was what.
With hindsight, we realised that the search party couldn't have got there, located it and got there in the time it had taken us to go from the village up to the mountain.
Yeah.
No one could have organised themselves to get to the object that we saw.
Since no search party went out that night, nothing was ever found at the scene. But astronomer Ron Madison has proposed that what the villagers saw that night was a meteorite or fireball, and that it coincided with an earthquake at a nearby fault.
Thinking that that explosion might well have been due to an impacting piece of rock, our first reaction was to try to estimate the energy involved. And it seemed to us to be something that would correspond to an explosion of the size of about 600 tons of TNT. We got letters from as far apart as Penzance and Northern Ireland and Derby, all reporting seeing a bright light, maybe comparable with a half moon in brilliance, moving across the sky at the speed of an aircraft, but with no sound, and trailing smoke, just like you would expect something on fire to be crashing. In the next few days, we were to realise, of course, that the village was not very far from the Bala Fault, which is active and has been moving steadily over thousands of years. And unbeknown to us at the time, originally, there had been on that evening a movement on the fault, and that is incontrovertible evidence. This was a coincidence. There were fireballs in the sky at the same time that there was a triggered movement along the Bala Fault.
Another highly publicized British sighting proved equally attributable to natural causes, but not before many believed that they too had seen a UFO. In March 1981, policeman Derek Ingram saw and photographed what many thought to be an alien craft that had landed on a fell or hillside.
I was in the kitchen of the police house at Cracow. I looked out across the fell, with the kitchen window backs onto the fell, and I saw a very intense bright light, a big band of light, on the rock face of the fell. I watched the light for maybe 10 minutes, and I thought it was worth taking a photograph of. It was unusual. I actually drove up onto the hill and walked across the fell to try and find something on there, maybe something had been dropped or something had happened. There was nothing up there. I couldn't find anything at all that would explain the lights.
The faithful saw a finned craft with 3 lights, and as the press had a field day, researchers tried to identify the visitors.
After the photographs had been taken, the negatives were given to the Yorkshire UFO Society, who spent 2 years investigating the case. They sent the negatives to Ground Source Watch in America and to a very well-known German UFO photographic analyst. Neither groups of people could come up with a satisfactory explanation, and in fact Ground Social Watch actually said snow was the best possibility for it. In 1983 the Yorkshire UFO Society went public with the case and actually claimed that it was the best evidence yet for a structured craft being sighted in the British Isles. The investigation continued, and in 1987 we'd almost given up hope of ever finding out what caused it, and I was on a weekend trip in the Dales with my wife and son and decided to stop and show them Cracoe Fell. And lo and behold, what should be staring back at me from the cliff face but the Cracoe UFO.
What they found was certainly a surprise.
Right, we're about 1,100 feet up a Yorkshire cliff, and this is the Cracoe UFO. It might not look like much from close up, but you can actually see the 3 balls of light on the photograph. They're created there, there and there by a complicated illusion, a mixture in fact, of white lichen, green lichen, the Yorkshire Gritstone rock which contains quartz crystals, and the rainwater. All this, when it's illuminated at certain angles by rain or damp, it gives the illusion of 3 balls of light. Some days it can be very bright, some days it can be very dull. On the day in particular when Derek Ingram saw it, it was amazingly bright, and that's what created the feeling in him that he'd actually seen something totally unusual, even though he'd actually looked out of his window probably every day for the previous 2 years and not seen it.
Though some sightings can clearly be explained by natural phenomena, UFOs continue to have a grip on the public's imagination that is not easily loosened. And there's no shortage of pranksters to capitalize on this fascination. In Gulf Breeze, Florida, in November of 1987, builder Ed Walters claims he took Polaroids of a UFO 3 times as big as a house. For him, it was just one of many such photo opportunities, near abductions and glimpses of aliens. Though he sold 2 books worth, Ed would not allow his photos to be included in this program. Photographs such as these are not difficult to fake with a little know-how, a styrofoam model, and the right camera.
It was quite easy to reproduce these pictures. He took the majority of his early pictures, about 30 pictures, on a Polaroid 108 camera. It is very easy to double expose the film in that camera. If you don't pull the film out, you can press the button and expose that same piece of film again. You take a picture of the UFO model inside, you go outside, take a picture of the skyline, let the film develop. There you have your double exposure of a UFO flying in the sky.
Still, Walters has his disciples, and photoanalyst Bruce Maccabee is one of them. A government research physicist, Maccabee is a believer in UFOs and is the author of many scientific papers on them.
I have analyzed all the films and videos that have been taken by Ed Walters. I have studied most of the videos, I guess, that have been taken by other people down there.
And it's just sitting there.
As far as Ed's pictures and videos are concerned, it's my opinion that they are real. I've analyzed these very carefully, taking into account all the criticisms that have been leveled against them, and have found reasons to reject the criticisms.
In baseball, you get 3 strikes and you're out. For Ed Walters, in this case, strike one was when a model was found in the attic of his former home. Strike two was when a young man named Tommy Smith came forward and claimed that he was an eyewitness to Ed Walters creating double-exposed UFO pictures. Strike three was when we went out and did photo experiments and were able to replicate many of these photos, especially the difficult photos like the UFO hovering over the road. So my conclusion is 3 strikes and you're out.
We published the first pictures of the Gulf Breeze sightings back in November of 1987, and I was trying to figure out exactly how to present them, because I tried to run everything that happened locally in Gulf Breeze. When my folks came in, and I said, "You're not going to believe what we're getting ready to run in the paper this week," and I showed them the pictures, and they said, "That's what we saw." It was primarily because of the many other people in Gulf Breeze that witnessed the UFO, both the same night that Ed first got the pictures and many times after that, that the Sentinel continued to carry the story.
I have had 3 other daylight sightings and over 100 sightings at night at Shoreline Park in Gulf Breeze.
I witnessed over 170 sightings. These were red lights, red and white lights over and around Gulf Breeze, Florida.
I've seen a silver flying dome in the sky that was unidentifiable. Never seen anything like that before, and it was unexplainable.
But just across the bay from Gulf Breeze is the Pensacola